So I find myself in situations where I have to learn pretty complex music pretty consistently. Whether that's learning music for a tour or learning my own music because I wrote a demo that was really hard and now I have to learn how to play it to record the final parts. After doing this so many times, I thought I could give some advice on how to do this. How do you take a piece of music that you find pretty difficult at the moment and break it down so you can learn it? This isn't really like an exact science or a systematic way to learn songs. These are just like some tips that I find very helpful. When you're first learning a piece of music or you're first learning like a solo, it can feel very chaotic and unstructured. So I think the first step for me is to figure out the structure of the song. I'm a very visual person. So if I want to figure out the structure of a song, I like to use something called markers. Markers can be found in any DAW that you use. So I import whatever piece of music I'm learning into a DAW. I listen to it a few times, try to figure out a rough structure and put it in the markers. For me, using a DAW to learn music is kind of key because there's a bunch of things that using a DAW lets you do. So I just imported the track into Logic. And this could be the full song or it could just be like a section that you're working on. This is just the solo section from Drip, the clip that I played at the very beginning of the video. So this is if I'm breaking down a solo section. Something really important is that the tempo of my session is the same as the tempo of the track. So that way, if I press play and I have the metronome turned on, it's in time. So I'm just gonna do a listen through and then I need to figure out a way to break up the solo into smaller sections. So the first marker I'm gonna put is where the solo actually starts. So if I press play, it starts right here on this downbeat. So I'm gonna add a marker. This first part is like this really palm muted double stops part. So I'm just gonna name this double stops. Okay, and then the next part starts on this downbeat. And then the next section is this downbeat. So I'm just gonna name this like B, section B. So I'm gonna call that whole section let's call it C. Okay, this where it goes. I wanna practice that separately because it's really hard. So I'll call this the kinda hard part. And then this is the hard part. So I'll call this the faster hard part. And then this is a modulation kind of thing because I'm playing like 7 notes within the space of 5 notes. So it's not really like triplets, but I'll call it fast modulation. And then that's it. So what's really nice is that I have sections of the solo that I could work on individually, right? So I can start with this double stops part and then move on to this section. Like that section is not as hard as the rest of it. So I can probably go through this B section pretty quickly and then not have to go back to it. But then maybe this kinda hard part, that's gonna take a while. And what's really cool about doing it like this is then when you actually play the solo, you kind of like think in these sections. Where you're like, okay, I'm doing the double stops part, I'm doing the B section, I'm doing the C section, and then now this is the kind of hard part. What I also find really helpful is that it lets you see where sections are repeating. Because sometimes when you're listening to instrumental music, it can be hard to tell where sections repeat. You don't have like a vocal that's repeating, you just have to like hear the chord progression. So labeling everything really helps me hear where the A section happens and then where the A section maybe repeats later on. Being able to slow things down is by far one of the most helpful things in learning a complex section. In Logic, you do this with a tool called VariSpeed. Let's say I'm working on the sections that I labeled kinda hard part and faster hard part. And when I play it right now at speed, well, number one, if I'm still learning this, I probably can't even play it at speed. And then number two, it's hard to learn something this fast by ear when it's at this tempo. So we're going to use VariSpeed to slow down the song and hear exactly what's happening. So what I'll normally do is start by slowing this down maybe like 20%. If I push play, I can hear where like the downbeats are happening, and it's easier to hear the individual notes. I'll take it really small sections at a time. So I'll press play. Probably even just that. And I'll sit there and practice that movement. Just that. If I keep going. And I'll even just like loop this section. Just get that movement down. And then let's hear this next part. Because I'm slowing it down, I can hear that the phrases are lining up with the accent. Like the da-da-da-da-da-da-da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can hear where these sections are lining up with the downbeat. So like here, I know that that's gonna line up with the downbeat. That first hit. So I can like aim for it a little bit when I'm playing this line faster. Something else that's really helpful is because you can like pick the speed that this is slowing down at, I'll like slow it down a lot to learn it, and then I'll slowly just gradually increase it. So maybe I'll start with this first section at -20. And then I'm like, okay, I can play that. So let me try it at -15. Okay, let me try it at -10. And I'll do this section by section. And then when I want to play the whole thing, I'll kind of start that process again. I'll go back to -20 and play the whole solo, and then slowly build it up. Another tip that I find really useful is when you're learning a part or a riff, figure out what like the important anchor points are. So when you're playing, say there's a really fast like legato line, where are the parts where it's lining up with the downbeat or it's lining up with an accent in the song? Figuring these things out allows you to kind of like aim for that note and fill in all the details in between each anchor point later. Or say you're learning a rhythm guitar part that has some like muted scratching plus, actual accents. Learn the accents first. Be able to play like the bare bones version and then add in the flourishes and the scratches and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to give equal importance to every little part of the riff. You have to find kind of the most important sections and then fill in everything in between. In this B section of the drip solo, there are some good examples of anchor points. And for me, these anchor points would actually be the accents that the solo is lining up with. Because when I wrote this solo, I kind of really focused on those accents and built the lines around them. So if I push play, you can hear that a lot of the phrases are like landing on those downbeats. So those are what I kind of need to emphasize when I'm learning it. So like that first part, I know that it's going to line up with the accent. So maybe when I'm learning this, I wouldn't first worry about that little run. I would just go like, just to get the downbeats going. And then I would fill in the space. In the kinda hard part section, I'm listening for those two notes are both lining up with an accent. So that gives me something to kind of like reference that everything's lining up correctly. And then in this faster hard part section, I kind of talked about it before, but I'm again focusing on those accents and having the phrases line up with them correctly. And in this last section with the modulation, it's even more so that, because the accents are the only things that are lining up with the subdivision, because I'm playing 7 notes over 5 notes. So I want to encourage you to learn a complex piece of music. Try to use these tips and see if it helps you learn things quicker. Importing the track, mapping out the structure, learning it section by section, slowing pieces down, and learning the key anchor points first. I also wanted to quickly mention that if you liked the guitar tones in this video, Abasi Concepts has restocked all of their Legion models in 4 colors, including this one. So if you want to check them out, check out the description and visit their website. I've been playing Abasi Concepts guitars for years now, and they've all been incredible, and they're such a great team to work with and to know. So if you want to support what they're doing and get a really cool guitar, check it out.